Get out of the way. Get out of my ring, you son of a diddly. He takes the most ridiculous pratfall. But it rocks. Time Miller, the bored a-hole here, and we're doing something a little bit different. It's Friday. We used to do this quite a lot, reacting to my wrestling matches, but then as I'm sure you figured out, wrestling shut down here in the UK. But I realized we never talked about this one before. It's from Reach Wrestling. Make sure you go check them out. A good promotion over here in the UK. Taking on my man here, PJ Jones. Don't want to, get into it too much, but obviously screw that guy. We hate him, and he's the worst person ever. But I thought we'll sit down and react to the whole thing because people used to like it before. Like I said, we never done it with this one, so I thought it made sense. And also, I thought we could tie it into fitness as well because I was actually going through, compared to what we have now, nothing. But I remember at the time, it was around about the end of the year. So we just gone through Christmas. All the gyms have been shut, and there was, you have family commitments and stuff like that. I'm not saying that I'd let myself get out of shape, but I'd been ill prior to that Christmas. So I hadn't been to the gym in probably, I don't know. It was one of the illnesses we just need to lay down and let it get out of you. But honestly, when I was watching this back too, and hopefully this helps you when you're in these certain positions, there I am, coming out, looking all mad at the world for no apparent reason. Smack my head, what am I doing? But honestly, when I watch this back, it's so hard not to get in your own head about what you look like. I do not like how I look there. That is the truth. That is the fact of the matter. I'm not going to pretend otherwise. I'm never going to let it hold me back from doing this kind of stuff. Although saying that, we did a video on this years ago. It's the reason that when I debuted in wrestling, I wore a singlet. Because I was just so terrified of walking out there, as I have done here, in my underwear. But eventually I was talked into it and I should do it. And there are other wrestling matches out there where I'm just going to be completely honest, I'm in much better shape there than I am here. But hey, it happens, which is why Triple H has always been a massive inspiration of mine. Not only is he the guy that got me into lifting weights, but there are times when he's clearly gone through some stuff and he doesn't look in his best shape either, which just goes to show, tying into all the things we talked about the channel before, it's a process. Sometimes you're going to have good things happening, sometimes you're going to have a bad thing happening, and you just got to roll with it. You got to roll with the punches as best as you can. But yeah, so obviously for people that may not watch wrestling and you're tuning in, we all know what the deal with professional wrestling is, but it hurts and it's really difficult. And it's without doubt the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. From the training to matches like this, it's pretty intimidating. It's pretty difficult. It's not something that I believe everybody could do. And also, just to give you complete insight, I am an absolute noob at this. I'm inexperienced. Somewhat depressingly, my 2020 was meant to be riddled with matches. That's what I was going to do when the pandemic hit in March. I had bookings all the way up to this month right now. So from March 2020 to January 2021, because I wanted to get my reps in. There you go. What does that tie into? Reps in the gym. That's how it works. I wanted to get my reps in and I wanted to get my experience in because the more you do anything, the better you get at it. Whether that's going to the gym and working your biceps, triceps, back, whatever every week and making sure you're doing progressive overload and training harder than last time with your repetitions, or whether it's getting in a wrestling and getting more uncomfortable with the environment, getting less out of your head and feeling the moment and all these kind of stuff. But that's that's the truth of the matter. I am a inexperienced green wrestler, which also makes it hard to kind of sit here and watch things, especially if you're a hardcore wrestling fan, because you'll be like, well, that sucks and that looks rubbish and Miller, you're crap. It's like, I'm aware of all of this. You do realize we're both human beings living on planet Earth. So PJ, my man PJ here, is somewhat of a comedic bad guy, we'll go with. He's been stalling. Obviously, I just want to get in there and beat somebody up and punch somebody in the face, but he's trying to get under my skin. He's trying to wind me up. Reach Wrestling were great too. I had a real nice guys. Look at that. The power game. It's like being back in the late 80s, where it's like, I'm just going to throw you into the corner. And you'll be surprised too. When you get into those kind of situations, it does make you feel like a badass. I'm not a badass in real life. I'm a massive dweeb and a massive nerd. But when you do something like that and you get the kind of reaction and then for some reason decide to, what a moron, play orchestra and then slap your own head. I don't know. It's maybe that's why people like it, right? Because you embody a character. Do it again. Roar! That's right, you get added sound effects when you watch the reaction stuff. There's a thing called, it's all sports, isn't it? It's not just, specific to wrestling, where you fire up when you do something good. And I just love doing it. I don't know what it is. I think because you get this really weird thing. Sometimes you'll do it because you know that you have to do it, but sometimes you do it because, be it the crowd or whatever, it hits you. It hits you right in the heart and you just react. And then when you I remember when I first debuted in wrestling, I did it in a rumble and I really appreciated the reaction. And it was so much I couldn't actually take it in all the time. And then Wednesday, this happened on a Saturday, I just got this rush of endorphins. Because I'm like, oh, I've caught up with you. And that's when I knew that I wanted to do wrestling as much as possible. So now he's sort of like, he's jaw jacking me. He's being like, I'm stronger than you. I'm stronger than you. I can beat you up. And then, because look at that, because he's a piece of trash and he's scum, he blindsided me when I was trying to be a respectful, honourable fighter. But he forgot I have the power of 9,000 kings, and I throw him back into the corner. And just to sort of, you know, get on his comedic level, I laughed at myself doing that. I'm not going to lie, right? I would guess that when you're a kid and you're growing up, especially with something like wrestling, he tried to knock me over by running into me. What a buffoon. But you always grow up and you think, oh, I'm going to be the hard, tough guy. I'm all right being the goof, man. I quite like being the goof. I mean, watch my videos. The one we did yesterday, somebody left a comment going, this guy is definitely back on the caffeine. And I took that as the greatest compliment ever, because I did go a little bit crazy in that one. Doing the timeout. Remember Ric Flair when he used to do the timeout? That's the best cowardly bad guy thing you can do. So he's running his mouth again, stood on my foot, son of a gun. Always hurts, right? Doesn't matter how big you are, small you are. If someone stands on your foot, but I get out of the way, get out of my ring, you son of a diddly. He takes the most ridiculous pratfall. But it rocks. It really, really does. And I tell you, I do miss wrestling. And absolutely the next time. Well, I think this was one of my last matches. This was like December 2019. So we're talking about, you know, well over a year ago now. But I need to have more matches that are on YouTube just because I can get in better shape than that. And let's face it, when it comes to fitness, it's all ego to a certain extent. I enjoyed that he did that too. Like, I think guys that get it like that, deliberately trips himself over the ropes, allows me to hit a little bit of a few moves on him, clothesline, back elbow and a big back suplex. And of course, you've probably seen the title of this and you're wondering, Miller, where's the botch? We'll get to it. And I wanted to talk about that because I think it ties into life as well. There's nothing wrong with botches. There's nothing wrong with making mistakes. That always hurts too. If you run into someone's foot, it just hurts. Right, here's botch. Here is botch number one. I was meant to catch him and put him into a suplex, but I caught him way too low, and then it was just a matter of we're done. But I'm such a hard-headed moron. Instead of just slamming him down, because I had him in the slam position, I was like, nope, I'm going to suplex him, and I couldn't do it. So instead, we do the stool suplex there, which is also very hard, by the way. I think sometimes people forget that. Picking a human being above your head and then slamming them down is not easy, even if somebody is helping you. And then you just give them the big clothesline over the top. It's those kind of things that I think people forget too. We talked about this the other day on Ups and Downs for What Culture. That's a terrifying fall to take. Somebody running at you and then clotheslining you over the top rope, meaning you're basically, throwing yourself backwards and hopefully you're landing on a wooden floor. I still get a bit oogly boogly doing it. It is not my favorite thing in the world to do. Anyway, spooling on a little bit. We beat each other outside for a while. And then again, he used the rope to kick me in the balls. I'm going to assume that some people watching this have testicles. Other people watching this won't have testicles. That's just how the human race works. But we can all understand that it hurts. Anyone that gets kicked in that groinal region is just pain. I mean, if you get kicked anywhere, it's going to hurt because you have nerve endings. But that especially, I remember when I was playing football once. Not that you need to know this. I got a football blasted at such close range and with so much momentum into that area. I was down for like 20 minutes. I honestly thought one of my testicles had gone up into my stomach. That's what it felt like. I was like, man, am I going to go to hospital? You never thought you were going to get this on a wrestling reaction video. You can see with the venue too. This is why I love UK indie wrestling. I'm sure all indie wrestling. A lot of this stuff happens in like town halls, such as this one. And you have the pictures, I guess, of the old mayors or the governors or whatever the hell it would be on the walls. And now you've got a bunch of ragamuffins in there run around trying to beat each other up. I think it's fantastic. Yeah, there's the Christmas tree. I was correct. This is December 2019. Why it's taken me a year to do this, I don't know. Unless I've already done it and I've forgotten. I don't think I have. Anyway, we're doing it now. It's a different format anyway. So he cuts me off. He's back in control. He's a bad guy. He's going to beat me up for a little bit. He's just going to try and pin me, which is always smart. You want to win in a wrestling match, so that's what you've got to do. And then we'll slowly build up to... there is one more accident that happens, and when that does occur, I want to get into something because I think it does tie into... Well, I mean, I'm not going to say it ties into fitness. That's a bit much. But it does tie into some of the life stuff that we talk about on the channel at some times. Because don't get me wrong, when it happened, I knew what had happened, and you get that horrible feeling in your stomach where you're like, man, I just want the world to eat me up alive. But then I was like, you know what, it doesn't matter. I will just talk about it now, and then when we get there. Like, gym stuff is trial and error. It's why it sucks so much. There's a science behind it, and there's a biology behind it, but ultimately not works for everyone is going to work for you, right? We talked about this before. Some people can get down to 15% body fat, and you can see, love doing that shoulder tackle off the rope. Love it. Who did I steal it from? It's somebody, I saw it on Aurora SmackDown. That's just a good move. Someone launching their shoulder at someone else. I was like, I was going to do that. But yeah, someone can get down to 15% body fat and have abs, and then somebody else at 15% doesn't have abs, and they start freaking out. The whole point is trial and error, trial and error. Sometimes you're going to make mistakes. Sometimes you're going to drop the ball. And it's just about trying to keep that confidence up and trying to figure out what you need to do. I always love whipping people into corners too, in case you're interested. It's something that's very, very therapeutic. I don't remember what happens here. Oh, that's right. Honestly, that really hurt. It doesn't even look that bad a fall, does it? But the way I fell back, and this, oh no, something else. But yeah, I remember I sort of bashed my head on the turnbuckle, and I was like, well, that sucked. What a buffoon. But yeah, you have to, I mean, dare to fail is my favorite phrase of all time, which is one of the reasons that pushed me into making sure I took I'm not saying I went far in wrestling, but to do as much as I possibly could with it. Because, in fact, it kind of drives my whole life. I never want to get to the point when I'm 60, 65 years old when you are going to be past some athletic or, movement-based activities and go, why didn't I do more? Like this, why didn't I punch him in the face? Like, yeah, it's good forearm Miller, but he rakes my eyes. Can't rake my eye right now. It's one of the reasons if we were wrestling, I probably wouldn't be able to do it. We've talked about it 1,000 times. But, yeah, I never, ever want to... I just don't want to regret anything. Look at that. That's right. Kick it out one. Damn right. No one sticks their foot on me, Chris Jericho. Yeah, you just never regret anything. And don't forget, that doesn't mean that you should put yourself through hell. Like, if you want to go to the gym because you want to get in shape, you go to the gym and it absolutely sucks, go and find something else to do. That's the key. So if you go to wrestling... Because people always mess with me saying, Miller, should I go to wrestling training? I'm like, yes, go. Give it some time because you have to figure out it's always going to be an intimidation factor, much like when you go to the gym, that you have to get over. But if you go to a gym for a few months, for a few months, and you really can't get in the right headspace, then yeah, you should just go and find something else to do. There is as much benefit as being able to cross something off your list as there is by being able to put a tick by it, because you just won't wonder about it anymore. And that's the key. You won't wonder, should I, shouldn't have I, because you'll know. I don't know why I sold that like I'd just been sniped in the head. See, learning on the job. And I've done a lot of these one-on-one sessions with my wrestling coach, who we go through these things, and you learn so much just by watching yourself back. Because in the moment is in the moment you still know as well, but obviously you learn so much more. I think it's now. Is it now? It may be in a minute. No, so that's one. He was meant to run into a belly to belly, and we just had a massive miscommunication. So it kind of turns into a hug slam, like a Bailey to belly, if you're familiar with Bailey from WWE SmackDown. But quite like it in retrospect, given that we're not allowed to hug anybody at the moment. That was probably one of my last hugs. And then 2 months later, it was like, no more hugging. Did I miss it? I may have missed it by ranting on and on like an absolute moron. Another clothesline. Can never go wrong with a clothesline. Not the greatest clothesline I've ever hit. Terrible atomic drop. No, it's now. So I go for a net breaker, and we just fall down too early. It kills me. I may laugh it off, but it's a defensive laugh. But that's why I want to throw it out there. Like, when I watched it back, I was like, do I really want to put this out there? And I was like, screw it, I'm just going to do it. Who cares? Go for my Falcon Arrow into... Well, it's kind of like a Falcon Arrow into the Goldberg jackhammer. I didn't really get either of them. This was during a phase where I was still sort of working on signature and finishing moves, which was doubly annoying because I'm not going to tell you what it is because I want to bust it out as and when, but I'd finally settled on a new finishing move. And I was all ready to go out to training and go out to matches and try it out to see if it worked. And then all this stuff happened and I wasn't able to do it. But it just gives me something to look forward to, hopefully later this year. So the moment I was doing the Emerald Fusion, which I go for here, PJ slips out the back. He goes for his finishing move. I always like stuff like this. I mean, arguably we did it one too many times. Push him into the ropes. He goes for a knee. Not this time, pal. Go back to get him. He slips out again, gets me up again for his finish. He rakes my eyes. No wonder I got an eye problem. It was a year after this, but still. And then, I mean, I don't have this kind of agility. Fair play to this guy. I mean, I never tried, but that to me is just wonderful stuff. It's just wonderful stuff right there and then, which is why I get a bit annoyed when you get it less and less these days, but some people still rag on pro wrestling. I'm like, man, that's not an easy thing to do. To run up a ropes and do a somersault. Again, going back to What Culture stuff. On AEW Ups and Downs, if you haven't checked my Ups and Downs series, or What Culture in general, definitely check it out. People were going nuts because essentially Chris Jericho did a version of that when he jumps off the middle rope, and it's called a lion salt, and he screwed it up. Now, as far as I know, Chris Jericho never screws it up, and everyone just went crazy. It's like, we got to remember how difficult this stuff is. Turn this into somewhat of a sunset flip pin, hit him in the lower back, knew that he'd been doing deadlifts earlier, so I was like, I'm going to take advantage of Take advantage of that. I move in these matches like a man who is thinking about the next thing coming, and I've got to stop that. And also I've got to stop selling things like I'm on some kind of twirly-whirly roundabout, as I did there. But it's all good, and that's why I think it's good to put this stuff out there, because we learn together. And even climbing to the top rope is hard. I had a top rope maneuver I'd got down too. I've been practicing it for ages, and then I think he changed his mind about what he was going to do in midair. He just lands on his head. But he was all right, and I get to hit my finisher, which would be something very different now, and that's the 1, 2, 3. So there you go. Just a reminder to the people that have been on board the channel for a while. We will get back to the wrestling stuff. Not going to change the fitness stuff because I love doing it too much, and I do feel like I've kind of found an audience there. But hopefully it's something a bit different for a Friday, and we'll get back to more gym nonsense tomorrow. It's already in the can. I recorded it yesterday. So like the video, share the video, subscribe. Go into the details below. There's Instagram, Twitter, merchandise, Patreon. Hit the bell, ding, ding. You know when other videos are going live. There's another video right there. Come and join me as I do this YouTube madness, and I'll see you soon.